eventually. And the police officer, too. They're coming.
Hey, that was from a movie. Don't take this as War of the Worlds. Don't go panicking out into the streets. She's an old and dear friend and one of the more talented people on the American scene. Sίρλεϊ Μακλέιν, the Oscar-winning actress, author of a new book, Saging While Aging. All of her books are major bestsellers. There you see its cover. There's a lot in this book that we're not into tonight, but we're going to discuss one aspect of it, which is UFOs, fitting our subject tonight. By the way, Sίρλεϊ came up during a recent Democratic presidential debate in Philadelphia. Tim Russert is asking Representative Kucinich about Maclean's book. Watch. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had it. They lied to me again. Anyway, many people react with laughter when they hear people talk about UFOs. How do you explain that?
I don't know. I think the unknown is traumatizing to people. I think we do have a built-in DNA of fear. One of the reasons I'm so interested in all this, well, I'll tell you how I got interested in a minute if you want to know, but I think the consciousness of how we relate to this phenomenon and the consciousness of change that happened to people who were taken aboard crafts, because I've talked to a lot of them.
Like the sergeant said, he's never been the same.
He was afraid. The whole idea of what induces fear is something they talk about a lot. It's, to me, I don't want to get into arguments, are they real or not, anymore. I've had too much experience talking to people all over the world, particularly in Peru, who have satisfied me. But what...
You believe in them?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think maybe the problem with accepting it and the need to have a kind of curtain of humiliation drawn is that it confounds us relating to our religion and our belief in God. But what I found with the people, and I worked a lot with Johnny Mack, head of psychiatry at Harvard, old friend of mine, wonderful man, and he said that we have to get clear in our own heads, in our own consciousness, what God is.
And do you think this sort of to people tells us there is no God because there's
the opposite there. The opposite, because what they've told me is they're being taught two things. They're being taught that we are trashing the planet in a fierce way. Be careful. And then we're being taught that they, too, even though they may be extremely superior in many technological ways, they're trying to teach us about the superiority of our technical spirit and knowledge that we haven't even touched.
When do you think, just think, they don't land in downtown Washington?
Well, listen, I was 18 years old, Arlington, Virginia, where we lived. UFOs buzzed the Capitol and buzzed the White House on July 19th, 1952. I recorded it in my diary. No one knew what it was. The switchboards lit up. Everybody was confused. A few days later, Truman, who was president then, had General Samford go on television. I have the kinescope, actually, and say, look, they're not ours and they're not Russian. We don't know what they are.
And you got the form there that Jimmy Carter filled out?
Yeah, I found the actual one where he's got all of his handwritten notes.
He saw a sighting.
Oh, sure. Well, a lot of people...
the Vatican said something?
Yes, now, this is interesting in relation to the question and problem of religion and God. Padre Balducci, wonderful man, Monsignor Balducci, very close to each pope. He has come out with a statement. You see how thick it is, so I can't read it. They're real. They have discussed what to do about it. Vatican intelligence would really like to discuss it. That's the problem here. We need the governments to reveal these files. The Chinese have done it. The Brazilians have done it. The French did it about a month ago, and it so lit up their switchboard, crashed their net. So I think the people are way ahead of military intelligence.
What is since they're not attacking us and they've been seen for years, what's the fear? What's the government's fear?
That's an interesting question. I've been working with Paul Hellyer. He's the ex-Minister of Defense Canada under Trudeau. He is upset because the Americans are planning the weaponization of space. as though they are enemies.
Really?
Yes, and it is very troubling to him. It came out of a project called Project Paperclip, in which, and this is what Eisenhower warned us against, the sustention of the military-industrial complex. In order to extend the power and the funding of the military-industrial complex, you have to be afraid of things. Number one was communism. If that petered out, number two is terrorism. That's here for a while. Number three is asteroids, and number four is extraterrestrials. So there might be a built-in reasoning here to have induced fear just to keep military-industrial complex
You've
going.
talked to a lot of people over the years, right? Yeah. Astronauts, presidents, etc. And your belief is firm, right?
No question.
You think we'll ever know no?
Yes, and I think there will be sightings. And I get the feeling, and this is where consciousness comes in, because all these guys who were talking about how they were afraid, etc., and I've talked to so many who had these feelings. It's all about feelings. It's all about what goes on in the spirit of your head. I think really the government in this country wants to release this information. Military intelligence does, because I know some of them, and I think they are watching what happens in terms of the public's reaction to
this conference Monday, then, is important.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Thanks, Shirley.
Okay.
Shirley Maclaiin and her new book, all of her books have been bestsellers. The new one is Saging While Aging. We'll be right back with our panel, but as we go to break, here is the aforementioned clip, which we didn't have before, of Dennis Kucinich in a recent debate explaining to Tim Russert his encounter with a UFO.
They should ask Governor Richardson. He's the governor of it.
The godmother of your daughter, Shirley Maclaiin, writes in her new book that you sighted a UFO over her home in Washington State, that you found the encounter extremely moving, that it was a triangular craft, silent and hovering, that you felt a connection to your heart and heard directions in your mind. Now, did you see a UFO?
I did, and the rest of the account, it was unidentified flying object, okay? It's like, it's unidentified. I saw something.